Hello, welcome to the 18th day of August 2025. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation. Now, before I get started on anything else, I want to record the temperature because it seems to be changing drastically over the course of the half hour or so that I do this. It is now at 5:35 a.m., I think, 5:37 a.m. here in Japan. It is 27 degrees and 85% humidity. 27 degrees and 85%. I'll try to remember to take a look later. You can see it's pretty much in the red zone, both edges. It feels that way too. Fortunately, it's an overcast day, so hopefully it won't be too hot. I have a lot I want to do. Welcome. This is my daily video that I do as a journal entry. I use this time to think about the last 24 hours, how I did with the challenges and the opportunities today, and measure them relative to the values, the creed, the objectives and principles outlined in my book, Going Alone, which you can read for free at goingalone.org. I also use this time to think about the last 24 hours. Well, I already said that. I also use this time to prepare for the coming day. Before I start any of that, though, I'd like to say hello to the new subscribers to the channel. This is a live video journal entry that I do every day. You're welcome to watch and leave comments, although I don't typically read or respond to comments until the end. I also will want to say that I do talk about sensitive subjects here, like death, so be forewarned if that's a sensitive subject for you. And I do want to say thank you, a heartfelt thank you to my YouTube members, my supporters on Patreon, and those who watch my videos. Your patronage, so to speak, really goes a long way in supporting my endeavors here. All right, with that, and I got to keep things moving briskly. It's a Monday here in Japan, and I plan to go to do radio exercise. And I missed it all week last week, and my absence was noted. The team reached out to us to say, Kurt's missed at radio exercise, so I will join them today. I kind of deliberately took a break. It was the Borne holiday last weekend, and it was exceptionally hot, and I wasn't feeling good for the first part of the week mostly. So I kind of took a break, as is my prerogative. As a retired guy, I can come and go as I see fit, right? Well, with that, let's get started in earnest. Going over the last 24 hours, my notes. I only have one note here with a parenthetical comment. It says, a well-executed day, and in parentheses it says, like a tuned machine. Yesterday was a Sunday. Like Saturday, I didn't work at all. I was very good about that. Now, I'm going to be revisiting that idea. How good an idea is that to not work when I want to work? Didn't I just say that I'm at liberty? I can do it as I want. If I want to work, I can work, right? Well, I'm also a married man, and I do have an extended family here in Japan. And I know my perchant, is that the right word? I know my disposition to go overboard in certain things, so I want to measure and control my engagement with whatever I use to distract myself in life, right? Because that's ultimately what this work that I'm doing boils down to, this business that I started. So I did well. I mean, I set out on the weekend to say I'm not going to work all the weekend. I'll spend time with my family. And on Saturday, I did that on both days. And on Saturday, it had mixed results. I don't know how much of that was the extreme heat. I didn't have a good day on Saturday. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel like I made good use of time. I felt like I was forcing myself. Yumiko wasn't feeling good either, so we wound up just spending the day at home. We went out and did a couple of little things, but for the most part, it wasn't a well-lived day. And I would rank that as primarily because of the extreme heat and my age relative to the heat, and I would say also the fact that I didn't work when I wanted to. Now Sunday, I had a little more practice on Saturday, so Sunday I went into it with stark deliberation. Now Saturday could feel like a day that I could get away with working, especially here in Japan, where a lot of salarymen will work on the Saturday. Boy, isn't that interesting how I'm measuring myself now against salarymen. That's an interesting standard, or maybe it's simply a shortcut to get what I want. right? If I can say the Saruman's working on a Saturday, so can I. And again, I don't think it's because I like work that much. It's because two things. One, I don't know what to do with myself otherwise. And two, I'm distracting myself from the silence and the emptiness which arrives when I don't have good utility with the day, when I don't fill my day with distraction. I keep saying, I should say, hashtag distraction, because distraction is one of the principles in my book. In fact, it's coming up so much. Why don't I give distraction a quick read to, illustrate the point? But I now have to remember which principle is. There's 35 of them. I think I can find it pretty easily. There it is right there. It's principle number 19 on page 263 of the book, which you can read along on goingalone.org. The page numbers won't work. It's a long principle. Let me read it. The principle of distraction. Sub-principle, playing in the sand. And there's a quote here. What is the course of the life of mortal men on the earth? Most men eddy about, here and there, eat and drink, chatter and love and hate, gather and squander, are raised aloft, are hurled in the dust, striving blindly, achieving nothing, and then they die, perish, and no one asks who or what they have been, more than he asks what waves in the moonlit solitudes mild of the midmost ocean have swelled, foamed for a moment, and gone. Matthew Arnold wrote those lines. I love that last bit about saying that our lives, once we're gone, will be a little more reflected than any man wondering about the temporary moment of the tableau of waves and set in situ in the mid-ocean swell. So we distract ourselves from that awful realization, the fact that our lives are, truly meaningless in the grand perspective. We fill them with perceived meaning, with the illusion of meaning and purpose through our distractions. But we are to be readily as forgotten as the foam on the waves, the day after the winds have passed and the sea has settled again. Our lives are done and our families have moved on. I haven't even gotten to the part that I wrote. That was just Matthew Arnold's bit. Okay, here's my bit. At every turn in life, we desire not to see. We turn our heads to look, not away, but towards something which might cause us not to see. The thing we do not want is to observe the emptiness which resides behind and before and between and within it all. That's the fuel. That's the impulse. That's not the impulse. That's the fuel. That's the substrate of the great indifference. We do not wish to sense the negative silence of the universe's apparent vacuum of purpose. We do not want to know that death is forever, nor death is forever beyond a nighttime soon to come, which we can neither know nor avoid. And so we busy ourselves with school and work and family and friends and hobbies and interests and gossip and joy and sorrow and peace and gratitude and anxiety and angst and ecstasy, and the very fact of the observance that we are alive. Anything at all will do. Anything to avoid the awful aspect and great indifference of a soulless universe without God, which is what it boils down to ultimately. Yet more and more, I am less inclined to fill the empty with my own fearful, distracted voice. Thus the reason that I'm not satisfied with simple mere distraction. That's the reason I'm suspicious of my work. Increasingly preferring substance to filler, though substance is harder to find and still harder to hold, leaving me often with nothing at all. But I am all right with that now. So you thought, Kurt. I was 53 when I wrote those words. It was 8 years ago. 8 or 9 years ago. So you thought. Turns out I was wrong. I am at last better without the distraction of life and death, which I know is not. No, you're not. So I thought I was. took almost a decade for that falsehood to be revealed. I don't need to change the book, because this, as I say earlier in the book, is the snapshot of time in my mid-50s. Nevertheless, I continued to play in the sand, looking for sand, digging for sand, everywhere sand, like all of us, distracted by sand in our quest for sand. So much busyness, so much fuss and bluster, so much restless apparent life. And thus I'm suspicious, deeply suspicious of my distraction of work, but no less distracted, no less suspicious than the distraction of my family, the distraction of spending time with my wife, the distraction of attending to the satisfaction of having raised my daughter, the distraction of being retired, the distraction of mere life itself. All of these things fill me with suspicion that it's all mere distraction, which I know it is. But what is beyond that? Could it be the empty mind of the Zen priest meditating, doing their zazen, reflecting on no desire? It's a path I'm incapable of. That's a Mount Everest to me. I can't climb that path. So I'll either fill my days with distraction, knowingly so, or I'll continue the quest. No, I won't. It looks like I have two options: to either continue filling my life with distraction, or to live in a state of seeming subtle angst over the desire to mollify my past observance of and apprehension of the great indifference, and all that entails. Okay, so there's a lot front-loaded in that particular observation from yesterday. Well-executed day, tuned machine. So why was it such? Why wasn't I filled with the anxiousness about the great indifference or the sense of distraction? Well, it's because I had distracted myself. I had told myself Saturday and going into Saturday night and ahead of sleep, and then when I woke up on Sunday, that Sunday would be a day of dutiful leisure, and that I would execute that day without doubt, and I would fulfill whatever opportunities and obligations, reasonable obligations came my way, and I did just that. Damn it, I did just that. So I didn't live any philosopher's life yesterday. I lived the life of the frickin' working man again. Boy, let's do it all. Oh man, I don't have room in my book for another principle, but I'm starting to feel like a principle titled "The Working Man" might be good and due. All right, that was enough of that. Although I think that was quite illustrative. I think I learned a lot yesterday and this morning in reflecting this. Okay, so let's go over my creed. It consists of 8 objectives and 35 principles. I've already read one, so I won't read another one. The 8 objectives are to always be ready to die, to have my affairs in order, my relationship sound, and my life's work complete. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of my time, to make good use of my days. Number 3 is to is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. Number 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions. 5 is to perform good actions relative to my creed. Number 6 is to recognize my true limits and true opportunities. 7 is to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. And number 8 is to keep my balance whenever possible. I got this new strap. It's kind of handy. I got new glasses too. 100 yen at the 100 yen store. 200 power. I usually wear 150 power. I don't wear prescription lenses. I just get the cheapo magnifying lenses you can get at the thrift store. I like them. I like this strap. I like that I can just do this. Okay, but I need my glasses because I'm going to reflect on today, and then but I can do that quickly, and then I'll read comments. As for today, it's going to be a full day of work. I have an antique item that I'm going to list. I'm going to list this lovely Tanuki ceramic tanuki statue from the mid-Showa period. Very nice, heavy piece. Isn't that nice? So I'll list that shortly after I finish this video. I'm also going to list my first Shinto product back in the store. An omamori that I picked up at Gogoku Jinja yesterday. Oh, I want to show you something. Yesterday at the flea market, I bought a guitar. I don't really play guitar, I just kind of strum guitar. This is my new, I had a really nice Ovation back in the States. It was my father's when he was alive, and then when he died it kind of broke and got into ruin, so I had it all fixed up. And I would just sit there on the porch and strum, and I make songs up, I make lyrics up, I just sit, and this is a great place to do it. Just sit here and gently strum. I know like 3 or 4 chords, and I don't really share these things with anybody. I just kind of, it conducts my thoughts, and it's got an awful sound. I need new strings, and I probably need to have it, looked at by a guitar aficionado, guitar tuner. See, it's not quite, but it has kind of a nice sound. As long as I stay down here on the low end of the register, I'm okay. It's got really nice feel. That's why I picked it up. I did a little thing on it. Fingers are nice, because I've been looking for a guitar since I got here. Fingers were nice. The size is nice. It's smaller than my Ovation. And so I bought it. It was $3. So, and it turns out it was made by a manufacturer here in Japan. You can see the information down there. A rather famous manufacturer that made student guitars. This is a high-end guitar, and they're their thing. It was made in the 60s or the 70s, so consider this like a high-end student practice instrument. And it's in great condition. Came with a case, just a few scratches. I'll get some strings and get this thing going. Very pleased with that purchase. I love my new little guitar. Let's read comments. Hi, Tim. Weather here in the UK at 9:40 p.m. is 16.7 C and 77 degrees. 16.7, a little cold, and 77 and a little high. So you've got kind of a little bit cold and humid, huh? Interesting. And how's it changed for me so far? Just not much. It's the same. Hope you're feeling better, Tim. I know that the heat this week has gotten to the both of us. Another hot, sunny day. Yeah, Tim, I haven't been. You can take a look down below. Can you see see all the? We haven't done much with our yard. Mostly it's just bare ground, but I got all kinds of little spots of green, all kinds of little plants. We're starting to see all the little bits of green. Little plants are starting to pop up everywhere. I don't know if it's like this in England, but here in Japan, if you let that go, it'll be a jungle in no time. I really need to get down there and take care, weed a little bit. Hello, Ray. Morning, Kurt. 23C. Just a little bit warmer, a little bit cooler than here. 55% humidity. Nice. 23 and 55. That's beautiful weather. Relaxing Sunday with basic household chores. Pressure washing the deck. Mowing the lawn. Meal preparing for the week. Busy day. Beautiful weather though there. Wow. Hi, Robert. Robert says hi to everybody and chimes in with his temperature in Napani, Ontario at 20 C and 61%. Beautiful, beautiful weather there too. All through Washington State and Canada are nice. Air quality index of 23 over there. Tim says, the one thing I've learned in retirement is although some stress is perhaps good to help excel at a certain task, the majority of stress I went through at work and now to have been completely pointless. I think I missed a word there. You now see to have been completely pointless. But don't you think that stress was? I mean, I'm here. I'm no fan of stress. I'm not an advocate of stress. I'm playing no devil's advocacy for stress, Tim. But don't you think it facilitated some ends, right? It was like a fuel and a catalyst for our better ends as workers, or as, whatever we did. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not, like I said, I'm not. I can't really remember a lot of the things that I was stressed out about, but I do remember being heartily engaged as a result. Speaking of which, Tim, I wanted to share another Netflix series with you that I'm watching with my wife right now. You might enjoy. Some of you others might enjoy it. I'm thinking to you, Tim, because I've got and Robert and Evelyn, those of us in the retired crowd. Maybe there's a couple of others out there. But I'm watching a Netflix series with Yumiko right now called A Man on the Inside. It stars Ted Danson, and he's a senior citizen who is enlisted by a private detective to go undercover in a retirement home in order to solve a crime. It's a very nice retirement home, one that I could certainly never afford to live in. Yet, I find myself over and over, and I've turned to Yumiko a couple of times and said, I could live like that. And part of the thing that was nice about it was that they've got their own little, think of like a walled a big apartment building with a gate. And then they've got apartment units, and they've got staff, nurses, someone prepares the meals, they've got recreation area, they have a happy hour. It starts from 3 to 7 every night, and all the drinks are complimentary, and you can socialize, you can do what you want. And this isn't like a retirement home for people who are convalescing. These are a retirement home for people who have reached an age where they're fed up with, taking care of themselves, cooking their meals, mowing their lawns, making, doing all that stuff. And they just want to enjoy that. And boy, I keep thinking, that's a life I could get around, right? I mean, to hell with this, striving against what is that poem? Rally against the good night, or whatever it is. To do not go quietly into that good night. No, I wouldn't go. I'm quite fine going quietly into the good night, and I think I would be happy to be checked into, you know, a retirement community, even if it wasn't as nice as that, even if it was kind of crappy, just so I could be left alone and have someone make my meals. And Yumiko turned to me yesterday, she said, but you've got somebody making your meals. I said, yeah, I know, but it's different. Tim says, I look back and think all that stress and anxiety was a complete waste of time. Tim says hi to Robert. Ray says, have you heard Mike Tyson's take on life and legacy? I feel like it applies to this distraction topic. We're dead, we're dust, we're nothing, our legacy is nothing. Yeah, good, well put, Mr. Tyson. Thank you for sharing that, Ray. Ray says hello to Tim and Robert. Tim says hi to Ray. Tim says, playing guitar is my main distraction in retirement. I used to play the local pubs with a group years ago. $3 is a steal. That's really cool that you've got those skills, Tim. Hi, Evelyn. Hi, friends. Yes, Kurt, I remember you playing guitar in your white chair while sipping a glass of red vino and relaxing before dinner. Yeah, that was fun. Watching the Southern California, the ocean waves, the ocean clouds, feeling that sea breeze rolling in off the beach, in Huntington Beach, while Yumiko prepared dinner. Those are some good memories. I hope we'll do the same here now. Tim says, thanks, Kurt. Much more comfortable today. Next week is getting cooler, low 20s. Yes, same here. Weeds take hold in the hot weather. I was talking to Dirk, who's, I told Dirk, because he shows up when I see him almost every time I go to the flea market. And so he showed up yesterday, and he's willing to be in my retiring in Japan videos. And we were talking, and he was, what was Dirk telling me? Oh, he was telling me that because I was telling him I'm trying to make the whole summer without air conditioning, because I don't have air conditioning in this room. He says, Kurt, I think you're almost there. Another couple of weeks. And just like you said, Tim, it should be cooling down. Hello, Erica. Hi, Erica. Hi, all. Hope all you and Yumiko enjoy a wonderful day. Thank you so much. You too. I wish you all the best as well, Erica. Robert says hi to Erica. Robert says hi to Evelyn. Tim says, I guess the stress was a good thing in pointing me to retire, so it had a good effect in a roundabout way, but it did affect the health. I guess my perspective, Tim, is that as a project manager, I saw the end results of projects where I could succeed, where success was very measurable. Meeting scope, staying within budget, and staying on schedule. And I would say that the stress was a catalyst and the driving factor that helped us to do that. Without the stress, I might not have been so diligent as a project manager to see the mission through, you know what I mean? So I'm not excusing stress or giving it a free ride or saying I anyway appreciated it or enjoyed it. Well, I guess I did appreciate it, but I guess I don't know, I wouldn't have known a better way. I don't have otherwise the mental discipline perhaps to have done my job as well as I tried to do, maybe without stress. Evelyn says, my mom was in a place like that. Unfortunately, she couldn't enjoy it much because shortly afterwards, the horror show set in. However, the meals there were certainly not like Yumiko's delicious recipes. I'm sorry that your mother went through that, and I'm sorry that you both had to experience the horror show, Evelyn. That's heavy, and but your mother was very fortunate. And I know that you and I have shared about our relationships with our mothers. So it took a lot for you to be there for her too. But yeah, nothing would ever replace Yumiko's meals. But I wouldn't mind. And I told Emily, my daughter, this 2 weeks ago when she was down. I said, first chance you spot, Emily, that you think Dad needs to be in the home, just put me right in. Don't even ask my permission. Just make the appointment. You don't even have to run it past me. Just say, Dad, pack your bags, Dad, we're going for a drive. I got a new place for you to live. She asked me to sign on that. She was joking. She said she didn't even have a pen. We were dining, and she just said, okay, can I get your signature on that, Dad? She took this little piece of paper that was on the table and stuffed it over me, and I took my finger and did that. I told her later, I said, even if I tell you otherwise at the time, ignore me, but I might want to take that back because I've changed my wholesale perspectives at times. And, I don't know, 10, 15 years, 20 years from now, but at the same time, no, even if I don't want to do it when I'm then, I don't want to be a burden to my daughter. So I'm not going to, even though I had a second thoughts about that idea, the idea of saying, what I told her was I added as an addendum. I said, Emily, even when I'm old, if you think it's time for me to go in the home, even if I say, no, I don't want to go in the home, put me in the home. There's a hornet right there. Well, that's not a giant. Oh, where to go? You go in the room. That's not a Suzume Bachi, but it was plenty big. Little Rudy over there. Make sure it's not in here. Rudy. Okay, I might close the screen, but they go into the room. I just leave the door open. I learned a lot. I was up in that. Oh no, the sun's coming out. I was up at that Kominka up in the mountains. Here it's back. It's right at the camera right now. Was it that Kominka up in the mountains? And the hornets, we were having tea, and the giant hornets were coming in, swooping around the room. And the owners were like, the hornets. And I was like, oh, okay, that's how we do this, huh? We just accept them. The hornet. There you go. Robert says, my mother's still in her place. Her neighbor drives her to the library when she needs another stack of books to read, which is often. That's nice that your mom's got that to do. Evelyn says, you haven't given Emily such a great gift by letting you haven't given Emily such a great gift by letting her know that. Yeah, thank you. Did you get that last part? I think the hornet kind of interrupted my thoughts there. The point was, I might change my mind. Like I might get to be 70 and I might change my mind and say, no, I want to stay at home. But then I don't want to be that guy that stays at home past the point of #reason. And I want to be able, and I think I can trust my daughter to make that decision on my behalf, even if I don't want to. So I've already front-loaded things. I don't think I need to tell her again. I said it very clearly. I made good use of the opportunity. Yumiko wasn't even there. And it was Emily and her friend Crystal were sitting there. And I didn't bring it up. The topic came up somehow, and I used that chance to shoehorn my observation, and so I got it out there. I'm just gonna let it ride, and I'll leave it up to Emily to decide. And I won't complain, unless I'm being abused in some way, right? Thoughts, ideas, and what? Hey there! Wow, there's a name from way in the past. Softypapa 1.0 days. Howdy. I'll be listening while I do house cleaning. It's good to see you again. Thoughts, ideas, and what? I figured, Evelyn offered a correction to her grammar there. I think I got what you meant. Thank you. I read it into it, even though the writing was different. I read in what I thought you meant. Isn't it funny how that happens? I'm always typing stuff and you can't dig it back. Damn it! Then you have to write an addendum. But amongst friends, we get one another, right? Robert says hi to thoughts, ideas, and what? And I'm impressed, Robert, that you actually typed all that out. Evelyn has a heart. Thank you, Evelyn. Tim says, I remember visiting relatives in Australia, and there was a massive spider on the kitchen ceiling, biggest I've ever seen, and they didn't bat an eyelid. Yeah, they don't do that around here either. The big spiders, the giant flying cockroaches. Here's the hornets right there. It just flew up there. It just went up with our leaves. And now the hornets. Here's the sun. Okay, well, I made it through comments. I better stop before the sun comes over and wipes me out. I'm going to try to list this Tanuki figure. Hopefully I can get the listing information in before the sun does its thing and this hornet's back. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Be safe, but not too safe. Take care. Bye-bye.